Plans, right? People love their plans. They sit there scribbling down their perfect little futures, making these neat little lists, checking things off like they've got it all figured out. Funny thing is, life doesn't really care about your plans. It doesn't care how many lists you make, how many goals you set, how many perfectly timed steps you take. Control. People love to think they have it, don't they? They wake up in the morning, drink their coffee, and they think that they've got the day all figured out. They have their plans, their to-do lists, their schedules, everything in neat little boxes, just the way they like it. They walk around with this false sense of confidence, like they're the puppet master, pulling all the strings, making everything happen just the way they want it. But here's the thing. Life doesn't give a damn about your plan. No one told you that, did they? You think you can control everything, that if you just get everything lined up in the perfect order, life will hand you exactly what you want. But it doesn't work like that. Life isn't a nice, neat little package you can unwrap and organize to your liking. It's messy, it's chaotic, and it doesn't care about your perfect little schedule. The harder you try to control it, the more it slips through your fingers. You can plan, you can strategize, you can try to manage every little detail, but life will just laugh in your face. It will throw curveballs at you, push you in directions you never saw coming, and make you question everything you thought you knew. And that's when it hits you. The illusion of control is just that, an illusion. It's a lie you tell yourself to feel safe, to feel secure. But deep down you know that you don't have control over anything. You don't have control over the people around you, over the world, over the things that happen to you. And that's scary, isn't it? It's terrifying realizing that no matter how hard you try, you're not the one pulling the strings. You're just a player in a game you didn't even sign up for. So what do you do when you realize that? What do you do when the facade crumbles and you're left standing there, exposed, with no idea what's next? You can keep fighting it. You can keep trying to control every little aspect of your life, trying to maintain that illusion of power. But here's the catch. You'll lose. You'll burn yourself out, exhaust yourself, trying to keep everything in line. You'll end up broken, bitter, resentful, 'tis life doesn't follow the rules you set. It never has, it never will. And fighting it, struggling to make everything fit into your little box of expectations is only going to leave you exhausted and disappointed. But here's the twist. What if, instead of fighting it, instead of resisting, you just let go? What if you stopped trying to control everything and just let life do its thing? What if you accepted the chaos, the unpredictability, the mess? You see, when you let go of that need for control, you free yourself. You stop chasing after things that don't matter. You stop obsessing over things you can't change, and you just start living. You start embracing the randomness, the surprises, the unexpected twists that life throws your way. And you know what? That's when it gets interesting. That's when you start to experience life in a way you never thought possible. It's scary at first, right? Letting go of that control, that certainty you've clung to for so long, feels like you're stepping off the edge of a cliff with nothing to hold on to. But here's the thing, there's freedom in that. There's freedom in trusting that whatever happens, happens for a reason. There's freedom in knowing that you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how it's all going to turn out. You just have to be willing to let it unfold. When you stop obsessing over every detail, when you stop trying to make everything fit into your plan, you open yourself up to new possibilities. You give yourself permission to experience life as it is, not as you think it should be. You know what else? Life has a funny way of showing you exactly what you need when you stop trying to control it. The moment you stop forcing things to happen, that's when the right opportunities come along. That's when the right people show up. That's when things start to fall into place in ways you never imagined. But you have to let go first. You have to trust that life knows what it's doing even when you don't. The truth is, the more you try to control, the more you're missing out on. You're so focused on the outcome, so obsessed with the destination, that you forget to enjoy the journey. You forget to appreciate the small moments, the little surprises, the things that make life worth living. You're so busy trying to steer the ship, you don't realize the adventure happening right in front of you. Life isn't meant to be controlled. It's meant to be experienced. It's meant to be felt, to be lived, to be embraced, flaws and all. So what if you stopped trying to control it all? What if you just let go, trusted the process, and took things as they came? You'd be surprised at how much more fulfilling life becomes when you stop holding so tightly to the reins. You'd be surprised at how much more at peace you feel when you accept that you can't control everything, and that's perfectly fine. Life isn't about control. It's about living. And the sooner you realize that, it's funny how people act when things don't go the way they want. They get all upset, all flustered, like the world is falling apart just because things didn't go according to their precious little plan. Oh, they've got it all mapped out, don't they? They think, if I do this, this will happen. If I say this person will react that way. They convince themselves that if they follow the script, life will be as smooth as butter. But here's the joke, my friend. Life doesn't read the same script. It doesn't care what you want, what you expect, or what you think is going to happen. It has its own way of doing things, and sometimes it's a little unpredictable, wouldn't you say? You ever notice how people freak out when things don't go as planned? It's like they're allergic to surprises. They panic when things get messy. They hate it when things don't work out the way they thought they would. But honestly, that's when the fun begins, isn't it? You want to know the secret? The unexpected is where life happens. That's where the magic is. It's the little detours, the changes in course, the things that catch you off guard that really shape your story. You're so busy trying to stick to the plan, so obsessed with the idea that everything needs to be perfectly aligned, that you miss the best parts. The surprises, the random twists, those are the moments that make life alive. That's when you really start to live. When you stop clinging to your rigid expectations and start rolling with what's thrown your way. See, the problem with expecting everything to go the way you want it is that you're setting yourself up for disappointment. You're building this fantasy in your head, this perfect little world where everything happens in this flawless sequence, like some kind of scripted TV show. But guess what? Life doesn't care about your script. It's got its own plot twists, its own characters, its own rhythm, and you know what? That's okay. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to control everything. You just need to stop fighting it, stop clinging to what you think is supposed to happen, and start embracing what actually is happening. Here's the thing. The more you resist, the harder it gets. The tighter you hold on to your idea of how things are supposed to go, the more you strangle the joy out of the process. You think you're in control, but really you're just trapped. You're trapped in this box you've built for yourself, this neat little world where everything happens on your terms, and when that doesn't happen, you lose your mind. But what if, just what if, instead of fighting it, you just let go? What if you stopped worrying about the next step, stopped obsessing over every single detail? What if you just let life unfold the way it's supposed to? I know, it sounds terrifying, right? You'd rather hold on, keep a tight grip on everything, because if you let go, who knows what's going to happen? But here's the thing, when you let go, when you stop trying to control every little thing, you open yourself up to experiences you never even thought possible. You stop worrying about what might go wrong, and you start seeing all the ways things can go right. You start to enjoy the ride, even when it's bumpy, even when it's chaotic, because you realize that the unexpected is where all the good stuff happens. That's when you learn, when you grow, when you get to experience things you never thought you would. But you can't get there if you're stuck in your little bubble of what's supposed to be. You know how people get all bent out of shape when something doesn't go the way they want it to? It's like they forget that life is this big, beautiful mess of unpredictability. They think that if they could just control everything, if they could just make things happen the way they want, everything would be perfect. But what's perfect, really? The perfect life? It's all an illusion. Perfection doesn't exist. It's just a story we tell ourselves to make us feel safe. The truth is, you'll never have everything go exactly the way you expect. But that's okay. It's better that way. The unexpected is where the depth is. It's where the meaning is. If everything went according to your plan, you'd miss it. You'd miss all the stuff that really matters. I'm telling you, the unexpected is where the real fun is. You think you know what's best for you? Think again. Life has a way of showing you exactly what you need, but only when you stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to force things into place. Stop trying to make everything perfect. Life isn't about perfection. It's about discovery. It's about learning to trust that what's meant for you will find its way, even if it doesn't look exactly how you imagined it. So the next time life throws you a curveball, the next time things don't go the way you expected, don't panic, don't freak out, embrace it, lean into it, because that's when the good stuff starts to happen. The unexpected is where everything changes. Trust the process, huh? What a joke. People love to say it, don't they? Trust the process. Everything will work out in the end. Oh, really? Do you hear yourself? Because if it were that simple, I think the world would be a little bit less insane. But here's the thing about trusting the process. It's not about sitting back and letting things unfold like some kind of passive observer, hoping that the universe just throws you a bone. No, trusting the process means surrendering, letting go of your need to control, to manipulate the outcome, to know exactly how every little detail is going to unfold. And that's where most people get stuck. They're so obsessed with the outcome, so fixated on the result, that they forget the most important part, the journey. It's funny, isn't it? You're trying so hard to control what's next, and in the process, you're missing out on everything that's happening right now. You know, people think they can just follow a set path and everything will fall into place. They think if they follow all the rules, if they stick to the script, they'll get their reward at the end of the rainbow. But here's the problem. Life doesn't have a script. It doesn't have a blueprint. There's no guarantee of what's going to happen. No matter how much you plan, no matter how many steps you take, life will always throw you a curveball. And then what? What do you do when everything falls apart? What do you do when the plan goes out the window and you're left standing in the middle of the mess you've made, wondering how the hell you got here? You can scream, you can stomp your feet, you can whine about how unfair it is, or you can trust the process. But here's the catch. Trusting the process doesn't mean blindly hoping everything will work out. It means accepting the fact that you have absolutely no control over how things will unfold. And that's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? Because we all want to think we have it figured out. We all want to believe we can control the outcome. We want to believe that if we just push hard enough, if we just try harder, the universe will reward us. But the reality? It's a whole lot messier than that. The process doesn't care about your plan. It doesn't care about your timeline. It doesn't care about how much work you've put in or how many nights you've spent stressing over every detail. The process is indifferent to your expectations. It doesn't owe you anything. And that's where people go wrong. They start thinking that the world owes them something. They think if they do everything right, if they follow all the rules, they'll get what they want. But life isn't a transaction. It's not a checklist. It's unpredictable. It's messy. And it doesn't follow your schedule. The sooner you realize that, the sooner you stop fighting it, the sooner you stop pushing for control, the easier it gets. Trusting the process means letting go of your rigid expectations. It means acknowledging that you might not get what you thought you wanted, but that doesn't mean you won't get what you need. It's like walking down a dark alley, not knowing where you're headed. You can't see the end, you can't see the light, but you keep moving forward anyway. Why? Because you trust that somehow, some way you're going to get where you need to go. That's trust. It's not knowing. It's not seeing, it's just moving forward because you know there's something greater at play, even if you can't understand it. It's like that whole idea of patience. Waiting for things to come to fruition, waiting for things to fall into place. People love to rush things, don't they? They want things to happen fast. They want results now. But you know what happens when you rush? You miss all the good stuff in between. You miss the learning, the growth, the messy moments that actually make the end result worth it. Here's the reality. The process isn't linear. It doesn't go from point A to point B in a nice, neat, straight line. It goes sideways, it goes backward, it loops around. Sometimes you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and then bam, you take 10 steps back. And that's okay. That's part of it. If you want everything to go perfectly, you're setting yourself up for disaster. Perfection is an illusion, a fantasy. Life doesn't care about perfection. It doesn't care about your timelines or your carefully constructed plans. Life just happens, and it's up to you to decide whether you're going to be a passenger in the back seat or take the wheel, even when you don't know where the hell the road is taking you. So, the next time you're feeling lost, the next time things aren't going the way you want them to, take a step back, breathe. You don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to see the end result right now. Trust that whatever happens next is exactly what's supposed to happen. Trust the process, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it doesn't make sense. Because in the end, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And that, my friend, is what makes the ride worth it. You know what's funny about perfection? People think they have to chase it. They think, if I just do this one thing right, if I just fix this one little flaw, everything will be perfect. perfect. It's like they believe there's some magical moment where everything clicks, where all the pieces of the puzzle fit together in this flawless masterpiece, and suddenly everything makes sense. But let's be real here. Perfection is a lie. It doesn't exist. It's a figment of your imagination, a shiny little distraction that keeps you chasing after something that's never going to show up. You'll never get there. And the funny thing is, the harder you try to get it, the more you miss the point. Take a second and think about it. Have you ever actually stopped and thought, what would perfect look like? Oh, sure, you've got this picture in your head. Maybe it's a career, a relationship, a house, or just some image of what success is supposed to look like. But here's the catch. When you get there, when you reach that perfect place you've been working for, you're going to realize something. It's not perfect. It's just another moment in a long string of moments that you're going to have to move through. There's no magic bullet, no final destination, but people don't want to hear that. They want the clean answer, the one that says, if I do this, I get that. And when they don't get it, when they're faced with the truth that perfection isn't real, they get angry, they get frustrated, they throw their hands up in the air, asking, who can't things just go according to plan? But guess what? Life doesn't care about your plan. Life doesn't care about your perfect little blueprint. It doesn't care how hard you work, how many hours you put in, or how many times you try to make everything line up. Perfection doesn't live in the world of how it's supposed to be. It lives in the cracks, in the mess, in the chaos that you try so desperately to avoid. And that's the beauty of it. People love to look at something and think, oh, that's perfect. That's exactly how it should be. But what they don't see is all the flaws, the mistakes, the random occurrences that led to that perfect moment. They don't see the struggle. They don't see the cracks in the foundation. They don't see the process. So you're sitting there looking at your life, your career, your relationships, whatever it is, and thinking, it's not enough. It's not perfect. It's not what I imagined. That's because you've been sold a lie. You've been told that perfection is something you can reach, something you can attain, but it's not. Perfection is a moving target. The closer you get to it, the further it runs away from you. You think you know what perfect looks like, but by the time you get there, it's already morphed into something else. And guess what? You'll never catch up. You'll never be good enough. You'll never have enough, because you're chasing an illusion. But here's the kicker. What if you stopped chasing it? What if you stopped looking for perfection and started embracing the flaws, the mistakes, the imperfections? What if you looked at the mess, the chaos, and thought, you know what? Now this is beautiful. That's when things start to change. That's when you start to see life for what it really is. A collection of imperfect moments strung together in a way that makes it uniquely yours. The more you obsess over making everything perfect, the more you miss out on the joy of living. You miss out on the moments that actually matter. You miss out on the beauty of the chaos, the freedom in letting go of control, the freedom in letting go of control, and the growth that comes from getting things wrong. You want to talk about real perfection? It's not the polished image you have in your head. It's the raw, unfiltered experience of being alive, of being human, of making mistakes, learning and growing. People look at others and think, I want what they have. I want their perfect life, their perfect career, their perfect everything. but they don't see the price. They don't see the sleepless nights, the sacrifices, the failures that led up to that moment. They don't see the struggle behind the success. They just see the shiny exterior, the perfect image. And that's the problem. You're looking at the highlights reel, not the behind the scenes footage. No one's life is perfect. No one's career is flawless. And no one's relationships are without their faults. But the minute you stop comparing yourself to some unrealistic ideal, the minute you stop chasing that unattainable version of perfect, you start living. You start to accept that life is messy, that it's full of ups and downs, and that the beauty lies in the mess. So here's the deal. Stop chasing perfection. Stop trying to make everything line up. Stop obsessing over what's wrong and start seeing what's right. Stop appreciating the flaws, the mistakes, the imperfections, because that's where the real beauty is. And when you finally stop chasing the illusion of perfection, when you finally let go of that ridiculous expectation, that's when you start to experience life as it truly is, raw, real, imperfect. Oh, let me tell you something about the thing everyone's so afraid of: failure. People act like it's some kind of monster lurking in the shadows, ready to swallow them whole the moment they slip up. They avoid it, they fear it, they pretend like it's the worst thing that could ever happen to them. But failure? Oh, it's not the enemy. In fact, it's the best friend you'll ever have. Yeah, you heard me right. That failure is the only thing that's actually going to teach you something real. You know, people like to say, oh, don't fail. Don't make mistakes. Keep your hands clean. Follow the rules. And what happens? They keep running on the hamster wheel, spinning around and around, stuck in the same old patterns, wondering why nothing ever changes. They never realize that their fear of failure is what's keeping them trapped in the cage. So they keep playing it safe. They keep living this safe, comfortable little life where nothing ever goes wrong, but nothing ever goes right either. It's just mediocre. But here's the thing. Failure is the only thing that'll actually teach you how to get better. You can read all the self-help books you want. You can listen to all the motivational speeches. You can watch videos of people talking about how to succeed. But here's the reality. None of that means a damn thing unless you're willing to fail. And I mean really fail. Not the kind of failure where you try something half-heartedly and when it doesn't work out, you say, oh well, at least I tried. No, I'm talking about the kind of failure that hits you right in the gut. The one where you fall flat on your face, pick yourself up, dust yourself up, and say, all right, what now? Because that's where the growth happens. That's where the magic is. When everything crashes down around you, when the world says you're not enough, when you can't even look in the mirror because you're so disappointed in yourself, that's when you get to decide what happens next. That's when the rubber meets the road. But you know what people do instead? They avoid failure at all costs. They try to keep everything under control, make sure everything goes just right. They don't take risks. They don't push themselves. They sit back in their safe little bubble and wonder why they're not moving forward. They're afraid of messing up, afraid of looking stupid, afraid of what people will think if they fail. But guess what? Nobody's perfect. Nobody's got it all together. You think all those so-called successful people just got there because they played it safe? Oh no. They got there by failing. by getting knocked down and getting back up again. They failed so many times they lost count. And every time they got knocked down, they learned something new. They figured out what didn't work and used that knowledge to do it better next time. And when you fail, when you fall flat on your face, that's when you really start to see who you are. That's when you find out what you're made of. You can't know your strength until you've been tested. You can't appreciate success until you've had your ass handed to you a few times. So stop running from failure. Stop acting like it's the end of the world. It's not. It's the beginning. You can't win without failing. You can't grow without failing. You can't learn without failing. And let me tell you, those successful people you look up to, they didn't just get there by being good all the time. They got there by failing harder and faster than anyone else. They got there by falling down and saying, well, that sucked. What's next? That's the attitude you need. That's what you need to embrace. The idea that failure isn't a dead end. It's just a stepping stone, a part of the process. But if you're too scared to fail, if you're too terrified of making a mistake, you're going to be stuck in that little safe zone for the rest of your life. And the worst part? You won't even know what you missed. You'll never know how far you could have gone, how much you could have achieved because you were too afraid to fall. But you know, the fear of failure is a funny thing. It holds people back, keeps them frozen in place. They're so afraid of making the wrong move, they make no move at all. They're paralyzed by the idea that if they mess up, the whole world will collapse. But here's the truth, the world isn't going to collapse. The only thing that's going to collapse is the fantasy you've built in your head about how life is supposed to go. Life doesn't follow the script. It's messy, it's unpredictable, and you're going to fail. You're going to screw up, you're going to look stupid sometimes, and that's okay. That's part of the ride. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to curl up and cry in the corner? Are you going to get up, wipe the dirt off your face, and go at it again? Because that's the secret. That's the key to success. It's not about being perfect. It's about failing and getting back up. Failing and getting back up. Over and over and over again until one day you look back and you realize you're not the same person you were. You've grown. You've learned. You've become something better, something stronger. You've earned it. And that, my friend, is worth more than all the success in the world. Oh, you think you know how things are supposed to go, huh? You think that life is this neat, predictable thing where everything falls into place, just like the little pictures in your head? Well, that's adorable. That's the fantasy, the little story you tell yourself to get through the day. But guess what? Life doesn't give a damn about your plans. It's a wrecking ball, smashing through your expectations. And the sooner you realize that, the better. See, people think they're in control. They think if they just work hard enough, think positively enough, follow the rules enough, they'll get what they want. But here's the truth. Life laughs in the face of your nice, neat little plans. It's going to take you down paths you never expected, throw obstacles at you that you're not prepared for, and mess with your head in ways you can't even imagine. And that's the beauty of it. You see, the problem with these grand plans people have is that they don't leave room for the unexpected. They don't leave room for the messy, chaotic, unpredictable parts of life. And those are the parts that matter. That's where the real stuff happens. It's in the broken moments, the moments when things go wrong. when you don't have it all figured out. It's when you hit rock bottom and realize you've got nothing left to lose that you start to see what you're made of. That's where the real power comes from. When you're in the dirt, covered in mud, and you've got no choice but to claw your way out, you start to understand that the plan, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what you do when everything falls apart. People love to talk about their dreams, don't they? They'll say, oh, I've got this big plan, I've got these goals, I know exactly what I want. But when things don't go according to their little script, they lose their minds because they freak out, they spiral, they start questioning everything. Why? Because they think the plan is the answer. They think that if they just follow it step by step, like a recipe for success, everything will be okay. But life doesn't work like that. The real question isn't whether you've got the plan, it's what you do when the plan goes to hell. What do you do when it all falls apart? Do you freeze? Do you give up? Or do you look around and say, well, this is fun, let's see what happens next? Because that's the attitude that'll get you through. The people who really make it are the ones who understand that it's not about sticking to the script. It's about improvising when the script is torn to shreds in front of you. You know, I used to think I had to have it all figured out. I thought I had to have the perfect plan, the perfect strategy. I thought that if I just worked hard enough, everything would fall into place. But the funny thing is, when you're constantly trying to control everything, you're actually blocking yourself from what's real. You're so focused on the plan, you forget to live. You forget to experience the mess, the chaos, the unexpected twists and turns that make life interesting. You forget that the beauty is in the uncertainty. It's in the parts you can't plan for. The moments when you step off the beaten path and find something totally unexpected. That's when you realize that the plan, it's irrelevant. Life isn't some checklist to tick off. It's a journey, and sometimes the most meaningful parts of that journey are the ones you didn't see coming. People spend their whole lives trying to force things to happen, trying to make the plan work. They push, they struggle, they exhaust themselves trying to make sure everything falls in line. But all that pushing, all that effort, it's a waste of time. Because the universe, life, whatever you want to call it, isn't interested in your plan. It doesn't care how badly you want something to work out the way you've imagined it. It's going to throw you curveballs, make you stumble, and then just when you think you've got it all figured out, it's going to toss you into the unknown. And here's the trick. When you let go of the need to control, when you stop clinging to the plan so tightly, that's when the magic happens. That's when you start to see that the detours, the mistakes, the things you never planned for, those are the things that make the ride worth it. But people get stuck, don't they? They get stuck in the idea that they have to follow a certain path, that they have to achieve this perfect version of success. They get so obsessed with the destination, they forget that the journey is where the real living happens. The failures, the setbacks, the moments when you feel like you're sinking, that's where the growth happens. That's where the real strength comes from. It's not about being perfect. It's not about having all the answers. It's about embracing the chaos, embracing the fact that you don't know what's next, and just going with it. So when life takes you off course, don't panic, don't freak out, don't try to fix it, just roll with it, because that's where you'll find what really matters. So here's the punchline. Stop obsessing over the plan. Stop trying to control everything. Life isn't about getting everything perfect. It's about surviving the mess, learning to dance when everything's falling apart, and realizing that the only thing you can really count on is that it won't go according to plan. And that's the beauty of it. You know, people love to talk about destiny. They love to say things like, oh, everything happens for a reason, or it's all part of the plan. But here's the thing. That's all just a comforting little lie people tell themselves to avoid facing the truth. Life isn't some neat, orderly path where everything falls into place. No, life is chaos. It's messy, unpredictable, and sometimes downright cruel. Life, but guess what? That's the beauty of it. That's where the real magic happens. People spend their whole lives waiting for a sign, waiting for some perfect moment when everything aligns just right. They sit there thinking they have all the time in the world, waiting for their big break, waiting for some magical twist of fate to change everything for them. But here's the cold, hard truth. Life doesn't work that way. Fate doesn't hand you anything. You want to change your life? You want to be something more than just another face in the crowd? Then it's on you to make it happen. There's no grand cosmic plan waiting for you to catch up. No one's out there pulling the strings for you. It's all about what you do with what you've got. Everyone loves a good story, don't they? What do you get? The one where the hero starts out as nothing, maybe even a loser, but then, out of nowhere, some twist of fate happens and bam, everything changes. Suddenly they're rich, they're famous, they've got everything they've ever wanted. But in real life, that's not how it goes. In real life, the hero doesn't just magically get handed the keys to the kingdom. The hero has to go through hell. The hero has to get knocked down, dragged through the dirt and told over and over again that they'll never make it. The hero has to fight for every inch they get. They have to crawl through the mud, face the darkness, and keep going even when it feels like the world is laughing in their face. But that's what makes it worth it. Are you willing to get your hands dirty, to put yourself out there, to take the risks that might just destroy you? Or are you going to sit back, waiting for destiny to hand you your dream on a silver platter? The choice is yours. It's easy to look at someone else's life and think, they've got it easy. They've got it all figured out. But what you don't see is everything that happened behind the scenes. You don't see the nights they spent awake wondering if they were good enough. You don't see the failures they faced, the rejection, the loneliness. You don't see the tears they shed when they thought they were done. You don't see how they fought with everything they had to make their dream a reality. That's the truth, though. People only see the end result, and that's what you need to understand. Success doesn't come easy. It's earned through pain. It's earned through the nights you want to give up, through the moments you feel like the world is too much. That's when you get to choose who you are. You get to decide if you're going to let life break you, or if you're going to take that chaos, take that darkness, and turn it into something beautiful. You get to decide if you're going to rise from the ashes or stay buried forever. You think you've got time? You think you can keep pushing things off, saying, I'll get to it tomorrow? No, that's the trick life plays on you. Time isn't on your side. Tomorrow is never promised, and the longer you wait, the further you slip away from your chance. So stop waiting for the right moment. Stop waiting for the stars to align. If you want something, if you want to change your life, you have to go out there and take it. There's no one out there waiting to hand it to you on a silver platter. No one's going to come in and make your dreams come true for you. You have to fight for it. You have to claw your way through the dirt and the mess, and you have to learn to love it, because that's where the growth happens. That's where the real strength comes from. The struggle isn't something to avoid. It's something to embrace. It's part of the journey. Without it, you're just walking through life with blinders on, missing out on everything that makes it worth living. You can't learn, you can't grow, you can't experience the real beauty of life without the pain, without the struggle, without the chaos. People want the easy way. They want the smooth road, the perfect path, the quick fix. But that's not how life works. Life is a mess. It is ugly, it's painful, it's unpredictable, and that's what makes it so damn beautiful. The world isn't waiting for you to get it right. The world isn't waiting for you to be perfect. It's waiting for you to be real. It's waiting for you to stop pretending, to stop hiding from the mess, and to embrace it, because that's when things start to happen. That's when you start to see the world for what it really is. And when you finally stop waiting for fate to give you the keys, when you finally decide to stop waiting for destiny to hand you everything on a silver platter, that's when you realize you've always had the power. You've always had the control. It was never about some grand plan. It was about what you choose to do with the chaos, the mess, the unexpected twists and turns. Life doesn't owe you anything, but it'll give you everything you've ever wanted if you're willing to go out and take it.